All right. Hey, everyone. We are looking at an opportunity today that I think would be really interesting once we start to get some better news around this latest COVID variant. And the timing here is uncertain, and I should say it's an if and when, but I think it's a name that's kind of setting up and coiling up if we were to get a situation where the markets calm down a little bit again in terms of volatility. This is more of a near-term call, to be clear. Just kind of for some perspective, this is a look at the VIX right now as I'm recording this here. We're looking at the VIX in the low 30s, so I would expect if and when we get some more settling news around this latest COVID variant, Omicron, then I would expect the VIX to go back down in the low 20s. And I think the following stock would likely set up to do very well in that. It's a travel-related stock, travel and lodging. The ticker symbol is MAR. It stands for Marriott is the company, the ticker symbol. And if you look at here in the weekly chart, it's largely the stock hasn't really done anything on the upside since early 2018. Even just here this year in 2021, it's up, but it's kind of just largely been consolidating below a well-defined area of resistance. It's come down over the past few weeks, as have a lot of equities due to the variance. Going onto the daily chart, you can see this a bit more closely, and I would think that if we get a situation where we get some better news, and again, the timing here is uncertain, and I'm not trying to pretend like I'm a doctor or any specialist in the sort of pandemic. I'm not at all, but I do think this is the name that sets up quite well, and I would not be surprised if it quickly gets back up to the recent highs if we get some better news. So this is one of those things where you kind of setting up for you're preparing or anticipating a specific event, trigger date, and I would expect that to be something that could get this again the stock quickly back up to the recent highs that we had early this year, which is somewhere in the low to mid 170s. So we're looking at about a 15% move from where we are as I'm recording this here, as you can see on the chart. So one way to do this is to basically obviously trade very small, because we don't know when the catalyst and even if it comes, or it'll come at some point. It's just the question is what the timing. One could just simply buy some out of the money calls, small amount, using options expiring at least a couple months out, being mindful that the options are meant to be traded, so we usually don't try to hold options for longer than, say, 3 weeks, so one could continue to roll them if the trigger doesn't happen. But even if we get a year-end rally, I would expect a stock like this to participate quite well, again, because it's largely tied, would largely probably be tied to some sort of a relief breather. So Marriott is interesting to us here on the downside. On the upside, I think anything, if the stock were to break below, let's call it 139 or so from here, and that's it's a very short-term sort of view, but I think from a near-term perspective, a move below, let's call it 140, probably wouldn't be something that we would want to, hold the stock long for much longer at that point. So 140 kind of as a stop loss. I think again upside target is probably in the low 170s. And again, if one does use options for this, the way we use options is to make sure we use options expiring at least a couple months out, so 40 plus days to 70 days out. But we only hold options on average for about 2 to 3 weeks, so one would have to roll them if the trigger or the good news potentially doesn't happen over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So anyway, there's a name Marriott. It looks good technically as well, as you can see. Hope it makes sense. We'll see you again soon.